Welcome to episode 5 of Tailgate Update. Here's what we got this week. First off, Pac-12 as we know it is dead. It's done, dead in the water. RIP. Now going to be called the Pac-4. Oregon State, Washington State, and Cal are the last 4 teams standing after Oregon and Washington. Both are going to be joining the Big Ten in 2024, along with USC and UCLA. Colorado, Arizona, they are also heading to the Big 12. So Pac-12, which was established in 1915, originally as the Pacific Coast Conference, has grown into what we know now as the Pac-12 since 2011. And times are changing. ACC is probably on the chopping block as well. As Florida State and some of these other teams are openly saying that they want to get out. TV money pretty much runs everything now. So I think that Oregon and Washington and USC and UCLA are both guaranteed $30 million a year from the Big Ten TV deals. So money talks, and ACC, unless if they can be proactive and not be like the Pac-12 and basically sit on their hands and watch their teams go away, they might be on the chopping block as well. But kind of a weird time. We lost the Big East, 12 years ago, and now looks like the Pac-12 is suffering the same fate. See what these last 4 teams standing in that conference do, but I don't know.
Yeah, it sort of seems to be the norm. I cover the AAC and the CUSA, and teams are constantly floating from one conference to another, and usually moving upwards. That's the idea, and so I think that's sort of the name of the game for conferences. I mean, those are definitely smaller ones, and so if they go away or change, we might not necessarily notice as much as Pac-12, but I think a sort of constant fluctuation is pretty common from what I'm seeing with college conferences. So this seems to be like the newest, growing pains for college football. But
kind of like you said, like a lot of these other teams from the non-Power 5 do get promoted as teams kind of move around and stuff. And Big 12, they lost Texas and Oklahoma starting this next year as well. But they were very proactive and adding new teams in, new blood. Big 12 looks like it's going to be a lot of fun. I don't know if it's going to be as competitive top to bottom as some of these other schools, but I think it's going to be a lot of fun. But to watch the Pac-12 just kind of dissolve right in front of our eyes in real time is pretty jarring. Obviously, there in a few years we won't even think about it. I mean, there's gonna be a ton of good matchups now. Does feel like a logistical nightmare. I mean, you think about how far these schools are gonna have to travel week in and week out now.
I'm generally kind of surprised at how much the conferences are fluctuate yearly. Like, it seems to be kind of it seems like it would be a logistical nightmare all of the time. Trying to move people in and out. All of a sudden they're your rivals. Now they're not. You're playing them all the time. Now you're not. Like it seems like it would be really hard to keep track of everyone. Like have like a consistent conference every year that runs smoothly. It seems like it would be like there's a lot of people's jobs that are probably dedicated to trying to figure that mess out.
Oh yeah.
A lot of schools might be in the.
What's up, Ryan?
I was just saying, a lot of schools might be in the adapt or die mindset. Because if you're in a smaller conference, you might not be getting all that funding you might need from the NCAA. So.
And players are going to want to go to a team where they're going to get a lot of, or a conference where they're going to, a team in a conference where they're going to get, that good press. So the NFL and whoever else will notice them. So that makes sense too in terms of like recruitment and your gathering from high school and all that.
all that money is gone.
Yeah.
Recruiting is absolutely smoked right now. Like, what are these other, how is their athletic department going to change in the next 5 years? Like, they're going to have to cut a lot of programs. I mean, we all know that football and basketball are essentially the only two sports that operate in the red.
Mm-hmm.
I think it's going to have a long-term effect on a lot of different schools that we wouldn't have guessed. But again, it's kind of on them. Like, they just sat and let it happen. And maybe they were depending on the Pac-12 commissioner to help them out and get some new blood in there. But that, I don't know what you do. Do you join the Mountain West? Do you join the ACC? What do you do? But
I'm not a college football conference expert, but I think it might be ideal for them to find a more long-term solution on how to create consistency. I mean, the NFL never changes who's where, which division, and all that ever really. I mean, only in the very beginning of the league itself. And so, like, surely there's some way to bring some kind of like consistency to this so that we aren't encountering things like this. It's kind of surprises me that college football has worked out so well with such a like fluid model this long. It doesn't, I mean, the name of the game of football is changing, and adaptation is critical. But I just can't see how all of this moving around is beneficial or like easy to organize for anyone. So
just money. That's the only thing it is. And with the 12-team playoff now in football, and I mean, think about March Madness tournament. I mean, you get 68 teams in there, so the conference doesn't carry as much weight anymore as it does. You're going to have, what you would have had is, you know, your automatic bids, the 5 Power 5 teams, conference winners, and then everybody else kind of following behind. But now it doesn't really matter. I mean, like I said, ACC is going to go away eventually unless they do something drastic. Then you're going to end up with 3 power conferences with the Big 10, Big 12, and SEC, and then everybody else.
it feels like they need to find a way to sort of upgrade the system that they have, because it doesn't seem to be serving them that well at this point in time. I mean,
It's cutthroat.
college football is capable of change. They did finally change the rules about like players being able to make money, so they can maybe. It only took like over 100 years, so who knows?
Yeah. I don't know. We'll see what happens. It's exciting. Embrace change, right?
Mm-hmm.
Speaking of changing the seasons, we got the Hall of Fame game last night. Officially kicked off our preseason. From now on until February, we have football every single week. So congrats, everybody. We made it. We survived. The Hall of Famers, you had Zach Thomas, you had DeMarcus Ware, Joe Thomas as the headliners. Another little known Hall of Fame coach is Ray Flaherty. Julie, you might have a little something on him, right?
Yeah, absolutely. So Ryan drew out, as you will see, a beautiful picture of the squirrel cage, or the fuddle huddle is what it's called. This is a little history segment since I'm an NFL historian, of course. Yeah, so Ray Flaherty, I don't know why I keep saying it like that. He helped popularize the squirrel cage, or the befuddle huddle, which you'll be seeing on the screen now. This was a play and that was made popular towards the end of the 1930s. And the idea is 8 of the players, they run to where the kickoff happened, where the kickoff landed, and they all huddle there for a little bit, and then they break off in all these different directions. And they all pretend like they have the ball. So they'll all be like cradling, like looking like they're cradling something, or, you know, holding it in. And they all are running towards, you know, touchdown. It always confuses the other team relentlessly because they have no idea who has the ball. Because they really put a lot of the dedication the players did on like looking like they had the ball. It was serious business. So they also tended to give it to a person that no one would expect. For example, the Washington team, the 1 year, because Washington would do it about once a year in the late 30s until the rule got rules changed. So 1 year they gave it to Turk Edwards, who is a 260-pound tackle, which was really big back in the day. They didn't have the same player size that we have now, so 260 was large. So they gave the ball to him because nobody would be looking to the 260-pound tackle to have the ball. So he goes running, but he's kind of anxious. So he broke into the clear right away. He got anxious, and then he started running too fast. So then everybody knew he was the guy with the ball, but it took a while for that to happen. So then he got tackled at the 15-yard line in this particular instance, but he could have made it all the way if he kept a little cooler, because they kept the charade going down the field. Like, they were really sold on everyone looking. So the No Fun League, as we know them, got rid of this towards I believe in the late 30s, when they made the rule that you have to keep 5 of the men 10 yards away from the spot at the kickoffs, only 3. And so that removed the entire point of the fuddle huddle, or the squirrel cage. One of the first teams to do it was the Los Angeles Bulldogs in 1937. So they were really a creative team. They were sort of a team before their time, and really, like, the concept of the squirrel cage was really unique to that sort of era of football anyways. But then they were also doing a lot of other really exciting changes. So they tried it. Might have been one of the first. So, the receiving, they catch the ball, they go to where the kickoff is going to be. Then all the Bulldogs run to that spot. Everybody is like huddling. They all look like they got the ball, and they start running down the field. Nobody knows who has it and who doesn't. The Tigers, their opponent, were as confused as the fans were. Everybody was like completely confused. And so then they see one player more. He's streaking down the midfield, and so then he gets knocked down. See, that seems to be the consistent problem with this, is that they get too excited when they break free. So he got knocked down on the 38th yard, and then the very next play they made the touchdown. So it worked really well. I'm not sure why they didn't do it more often. For example, Washington only did it about once a year. I don't think the LA Bulldogs were even in the NFL for very long, so that could be an explanation for that. A lot of teams came and went in that time period, but it's definitely a really fascinating historical play. And 10 out of 10 would love to see that happen today. And I'm just imagining everyone looking like obviously we have too many rules, but it's a really cool concept.
Yeah, that's very interesting, very innovative, and obviously it was, because I believe 37 was his first championship year as a head coach. So obviously innovation in that time period definitely killed. So
yeah, and the move from Boston to Washington really helps, because they got sort of this like major fan boost and sort of raised the morale of the team, and it did a lot. So I think Flaherty was sort of enthused in that period of time,
Yeah.
Yeah, and the Bulldogs, Joey, they actually competed from 1936 to 48 in Los Angeles, and the last year they played as the Long Beach Bulldogs. Just for reference.
Yeah, that's great to know. So many teams came in. We're in for a few years. We moved to a different place. A lot of the teams that we have today are still from back then. It's just they were in a completely different city and a different name, so we wouldn't know that. But some teams from that period of time that still exist today would be the Chicago Bears and the Packers. They have remained in the same city with the same name all the way from back then. But yeah, that's a great tidbit. It's easy to kind of lose some of our great teams lose track of where they go.
Fun fact: Bears George Hallis saved the Green Bay Packers organization by paying their dues. They were obviously saying a lot of teams didn't make it very long in that league. Just
Yeah.
professional football was kind of a joke back then. College football was the premier sport,
Yeah.
so money was very little in that
Well,
time.
Hallis was certainly a character, the George Hallis rule. Yeah, so he was a lot of things. But yeah, most like most of us, he's a multi-dimensional person, but he did do a lot of good for the game, and also a lot of not so. I mean, when you have to have a role named after you, not a great sign. But
Well, what else is
this is like very extraordinary here. The Bulldogs were considered the best football team in existence outside of the NFL, and they were the first team ever to go undefeated.
that's
They're one of 3 teams ever to do it.
I know the Bears had a really intriguing long streak in the 30s. It went really, really long, but I didn't know that about the Bulldogs. So they were only in the NFL for a short period of time then, because they were in there.
They formed with the intention of joining the National Football League in 1937 and got turned down in favor of the Cleveland Rams. They were the first team on the major league level to play its home games on the American West Coast.
See, the Pro Football Chronicle, which is the Bible of NFL history, in case you were wondering, deceived me because they did not clarify that they were just providing, I guess, another example of the befuddle huddle in action. That makes sense. Good to know. So maybe Flaherty was watching on a little other call and he was like, oh, maybe we could try that one in the NFL. There's always been politics and there's always been controversy.
Oh boy.
It started, so.
Well, speaking of controversy, we got Alvin Kamara found out his fate. Only 3-game suspension. Kind of surprising given the video footage that we see what they did to that person. I thought it was kind of light, to say the least, but
slap on the wrist.
I kind of feel that about a lot of repercussions that players get for example, like DB and other things, like the complete like lack of consequence is it never really feels like a crime, except for when, heaven forbid, somebody gambles. Then all of the stops have to come out and they're banned for like life. But if somebody like rearranges somebody's race, like it's like, oh, a few games, it's fine. I'm not totally clear on their.
I don't get it.
I know the NFL has a history with the mob, or not necessarily not the NFL itself, but people have had to try to fix games, and some of the people in the league were affiliated with some people in organized crime, and so I am aware. And so, gambling and fixing games used to be a much bigger problem. So it's sort of this historical thing that has blown that up to the extent that it is. But it just doesn't feel right that is like the cardinal sin. But you can, rearrange a man's face. His occipital bones can be broken, and you're like, oh, well, 3 games.
Do you guys remember Joe Mixon assaulting that lady?
Yes.
On video. I think he only got 2 or 3 games for that as well.
Yeah.
Going in here. But like you said, God forbid that I'm on an NFL campus somewhere and bet on, I don't know, a baseball game. Mm-hmm. Now I'm suspended for a year. Like it's completely ridiculous. I can't stand it. And the NFL makes so much.
It kind of gives them
deals with FanDuel, Barstool, all these companies, but you can't even partake in it. Like,
Yeah, it gives a message that they don't care, particularly about women. When they don't give very significant consequences for, um, you know, domestic disputes and things like that, it does send that message. And I just tend to think that maybe because the NFL is such a historical organization, the only thing I can think of is that back in the day, well, for one thing, what happened in your home stayed in your home. So, like, if women got their pants kicked, there wasn't gonna be like a lot of people to like keep an eye on it. Where if you had a bar fight, there isn't cameras everywhere. So it just didn't have the same level of like importance placed on it, and it's probably.
Yeah.
But it's been like over 60 years since we really had our biggest problem with organized crime in football. So maybe we can kind of upgrade to like matching the problems of today.
It needs to be changed. I mean, it's backwards right now. Let's just say that it's very backwards at this point in time.
And the biggest thing with the NFL is their disciplinary actions, their length of sentences are never the same for the same.
That's what I don't understand either. I don't get it.
The same offenses don't get the same punishments.
You know, and you see videos this past week of Goodell dapping up DJ or Deshaun Watson. It's like,
yeah, it sends a message.
Happier to see him. I don't get it.
Not only does it tell women that our safety doesn't matter to the league in a way, it also communicates to players of all ages, you know, high school and up, that if they do this, it won't do much for the once they make it in the NFL, because obviously you have to be good. If you're bad and then you do bad things, you're out. But if you get good, if you're Deshaun Watson, then you can pretty much just do whatever you want, and the NFL will dap you up. So it's not a great message to like young men who are like looking up to their idols and trying to figure out what their own moral code and like attitude towards life is. Yeah, it says a lot without saying much.
Yeah, there's just no accountability anywhere, really. But
well, they have made a few changes to the policy this past week, and so made specifically with a certain person's cases, all 22 or however many in mind. And so now they have a much more beefed up policy about how to handle people who are problematic in that way. And they're also holding team owners more accountable, and they're now allowing college behaviors that happen in college can now be held. There's consequences for that even in the NFL. It's no longer just what happens in the NFL is dealt with. So maybe they're trying to bring some accountability.
That's good. They need to. I mean, they need to just totally revamp it. Like, hey, this constitutes this consequence, this constitutes that consequence, and there needs to be levels to it. Obviously, physically assaulting somebody, especially a woman, needs to be at the top of the list. So gambling, you know, unless you're gambling on your team to lose, it really shouldn't be that big of a deal. Like, and
or when if you're trying to fix a game in any way, obviously that's problematic. But we can all tell the difference between like, you know, just leave your own team out of it when you're betting, and then we'll all be fine.
Yeah, I agree. You got an update on us? Your DJ Hernandez story from last week.
Yeah. So Jonathan is struggling. So we found out a few different things. He had a court appearance on August 1st, so the beginning of the week. He faces charges of violating the protective order that he had that his estranged wife, we now know that that's the state of their marriage. It was a little unclear last week. He violated that protective order, so he was in court for that, and also threatening her life while he was under a psych evaluation earlier on. So we found out that his ex-wife says he's diagnosed with bipolar and schizophrenia. So that's kind of some more information on maybe where his mind is at. I have a few questions about that because it's incredibly rare for schizophrenia to occur anytime other than like late teenage years and early 20s. So I think I want a little bit more information on that because it never really just sort of happens later into adulthood. And was he like functioning in society all of this time with schizophrenia, which can be very challenging to do, or is this and we didn't have a doctor confirm that, so just she's saying that he has an alleged mental health history, which brings a little light to the issue. So he's facing federal charges of a interstate threatening and stalking, and he's being ordered a rearrest for the brick throwing incident. He even threatened his mom. It's
Can't do that.
it's really challenging. If you know anything about the brothers, you know that the dad was extremely abusive to them and their mother in front of them from like a young age, and so allegedly, and so it kind of makes you wonder, sort of like there's definitely plenty of demons in this situation, and for whatever reason, he's also choosing to react with this violence that he's had modeled to him for a very long time. We know that the driver's license plate readers at UConn did register that he was present on the day that he missed the court date on July 7th. His ex-girlfriend said that that's where he went, but we do know that he was physically there. For some reason, the university says there's no imminent threat to the university, which I guess maybe because he's in jail, but like I think that that's a overly confident response. But and sort of last week I was talking about it. Was there some sort of proximal event that sort of kicked off this behavior? And his ex-girlfriend says they went to a trip in Rhode Island, and apparently he felt that somebody recognized him as Aaron's brother, and that alone was the event that was sort of the catalyst for his downward spiral, according to the testimony of one of the Bristol police officers, I believe, Zachary Levine. So that is the event we were wondering about. So we're just like, we learned a little bit more about where his headspace is at, like the seriousness that he was approaching, actually, you know, threatening these schools, the social media posts that he put, that kicked off his initial arrest on, I believe, the 19th. He was threatening to take people out again, and he actually begged the cops to shoot him when they came to get him, and so I think that speaks a lot to a lot of things.
Yeah.
So that's where we're at. He's sort of an active case. A lot of the other cases we've already covered are either already finished or are pending. For example, like Dalvin Cook, we don't really have an update on that lawsuit yet, but we did get a little bit more information on Dennis, so we thought we'd share, and any updates that come for any of the cases that we discussed, we'll keep an eye on those.
Cool, sounds good. Yeah, definitely update us when you get news on the Dalvin Cook situation. Obviously, he remains unsigned, so I feel like as much as he tries to say that that's not the hang up, I feel like it's probably a part of it at least.
Maybe partially. I think, I mean, as we know, the running back contract situation is only getting worse, and
yeah,
I think that that's a lion's share of it because she's not even pursuing like criminal charges. It's just a civil case, and so I don't know like how concerned teams are about this. As we discussed, it doesn't. There's not a lot of consequences, so I tend to think that that's a lesser issue here, and more so just because he knows what he's worth, and the market is awful, and he's a little older, so.
He is very effective still though. Last year, I thought. Um, I don't know. I think it's just a bad like kind of culmination of everything going on at the same time. Just
It doesn't help. It
crap.
doesn't.
So, uh, moving on to baseball. Busy week. Trade deadline is over. Kind of boring. Cardinals dumped a couple guys. White Sox dumped a couple guys. Neither team really seemed committed to selling. So we'll see what they got in store for 2024. I feel like both clubs feel like they can compete. The Mets, though, completely unloaded everything that they bought. It seems like sending both Justin Verlander and Scherzer packing. So I thought that was kind of interesting. Pitching market is always hot, especially these teams like the Reds. You would have thought that they would have went off and picked up a decent starting pitcher, maybe a bullpen arm as well. And now they're paying the price. They might be looking at losing their sixth game in a row today. And just got absolutely hammered by the Cubs, giving up 20 and 16 runs consecutive games. It's not a good look. But who didn't get hammered? Old Framber Valdez.
Yeah, yeah,
Himself a game.
he was pretty untouchable. He only allowed one base runner and a no hitter against the Guardians, and that was actually the 16th Astros no hitter in their franchise's history. He's the first left-handed pitcher to throw a no hitter in franchise history, and he also faced the minimum of 27 batters, which is the fewest ever in an Astros no hitter. It's also worth mentioning that it's a third no hitter in the last 2 years, one of which came in Game 4 of last year's World Series.
Yeah, that
So,
I see. I forgot about that. No, I completely forgot about that.
yeah. Also, another fun fact: that's also Martin Maldonado's third no hitter that he's got in his career.
He seems like he's the straw that stirs the drink, doesn't it?
Yeah,
I remember the Cubs picked him up at the trade deadline, I think in 2019, and obviously didn't do too well. But I remember hearing like he just calls perfect games, like just unreal behind the plate. And you see why the Astros made sure to go pick him back up after they traded him because he's done wonders for that club. So that's a team that can just like they create pitching out of nowhere. I feel like they've just got to have the best farm system in the league over the past 10 years.
yeah.
Everybody's pretty much homegrown outside of Verlander, obviously, but I mean it's unreal.
Yeah. It's also the third no hitter that the MLB has seen in the last 3 months, 2 months.
Yeah,
There's three. That was the third one this year.
which is last year there was a bunch, ton of them last year.
Yeah,
Looking at
it's,
breaking record, but I think it slowed down after a while.
there's a lot of combined no hitters in the last couple years too.
Yeah, yeah. I think Cubs had one. Cubs had one last year, I believe. I don't think it was this year. It was last year. Toward the end of the season, they had a combined no. But yeah, I don't know. I still think it's one of the best feats in baseball. That's one of the hardest things to do. I mean, especially when you're going to face the minimum 27 batters. That's an incredible game. Absolutely incredible. So, while we were sleeping, maybe I don't know if either one of you got up. I doubt I didn't. Women's national team is out. They're done. Earliest exit and 9 World Cups. Lose on penalty kicks to Sweden in a 0-0 game. I think they had outshot Sweden 11-1, if I remember right. Rapinoe in her very last international game misses a penalty kick. Immediately followed suit by Sweden, just barely. I don't know if you guys seen the replay. I mean, this ball crossed the plane by like millimeters. And just like that, Team USA is packing it up, going home. Thanks for playing.
We had a Swedish made fish out of them.
What?
The kid eat the Swedish fish.
Yeah. Goodness gracious. Goodness gracious.
Oh,
Yeah, it was a
That
little.
about-
We were in a dark time, okay? This isn't exactly the US's shining moment, so yeah.
Oh, is this shocking? I can't believe. I mean, they didn't have a very good group stage. I mean, they didn't blow anybody's socks off, but still, I wouldn't have expected them to get dumped the first round. It's kind of crazy, unprecedented for any either of us. I mean, not World Cup comes around what, once every 4 years. So that's 36 years ago was the last time they got bounced in the first round. So
well, I guess they were due.
got to lose at some point.
Yeah, I guess they were due for an early round exit.
Yeah, it happens. It happens. Not a big deal.
You win some, you lose some.
Yeah,
Maybe.
next year it'll go better. Sometimes it takes a loss to really remember how good a win feels. So.
Yeah, honestly, I mean, because they now lost in. I mean, they won 2 consecutive World Cups, so I mean, you get a little too big for your britches, thinking your crap don't stink, and then
Maybe they're just tired. Okay.
maybe
After all those wins, they need a nap.
yeah, they've been playing too much. Little legs are tired.
Yeah.
Ryan, you got a little update for us in the NHL, right?
Yeah, Eric Carlson's been dealt from the San Jose Sharks. He will be a Pittsburgh Penguin at the start of the new season. Yeah, it was quite the haul, too. So the Sharks are sending Carlson to Pittsburgh as part of a 3-team deal.
Okay.
The third team was the Canadiens. Mikhail Grenlin and a 2024 first-round pick will be sent to San Jose, along with Mike Hoffman and defenseman Jan Ruda. The Penguins will receive Rem Pitlick and Dylan Hamaliuk in a 2026 third-round pick, while the Canadians are getting defenseman Jeff Petrie, goaltender Casey DeSmith, forward Nathan Legary, and a 2025 second-round pick. Quite a haul for a good defenseman such as Carlson.
That's a lot of moving parts right there, man. Holy smokes.
Yeah,
That's
a
complicated.
lot of moving parts and not a lot of early round picks. Just one first round pick being moved and all of that.
Yeah. And that's a 2024 pick, you said?
Yeah, 2024 goes to San Jose.
Good haul for them. I mean, they're not going anywhere anytime soon, so you might as well dump what you got and get something for them, right? So
Just another brick of the rebuild for San Jose.
wow.
Is this a bad time to plug my article on the fourquala.com about Pittsburgh Pete or Penguin Pete, the first mascot, the one and only live mascot in the NHL, and it's a really epic story. There is a penguin with skates, so you don't want to miss that. It's really entertaining. The history of the NHL in general is, but yeah, you're not gonna want to miss the Pittsburgh Pete article. It's pretty good.
So we're talking
Nice.
about a penguin.
What?
Nice plug, Julie. Nice plug.
Yeah, absolutely. Look, anyone who is a hockey fan should know about Penguin Pete and Penguin Pete the second.
Of course.
Yeah,
Someone's got to watch over the igloo.
let's just do more. And that's how you got Pittsburgh Pete the second.
Exactly. 2 generations of mascots right there.
But it wasn't generations, it was pretty quick. But anyways, you'll have to read the article to find out all about that. How could a ice rink be too warm for a penguin to survive? I'll let you know in the article.
Looking forward to it.
I'm sure it'll be a great article, Julie.
It's already up. Y'all should have already seen it. For shame.
I'm a
Yep.
busy man.
Well read up on that. Yep.
R.I.P. Penguin Pete.
Absolutely.
Rest in pickles. All righty. That's all I got for the roundup today, guys. So
Well, and while we're speaking of things going on the website, Caleb.
Might be talking about a little Pete Rose baseball raffle.
Might be.
Might be. I think we are.
So as you'll see, the tweet pulled up here, Pete Rose baseball raffle. All you got to do is subscribe to our YouTube channel, The Forkball. Go and like and retweet or repost, I guess now it's called these days.
Reacts.
Give you on. The pin tweet showing the autograph baseball. And on August 21st, we will be announcing the winner. And good luck to all y'all over there. It's a pretty cool giveaway. The first of many for the website. So we're looking forward to doing more of these. And we'll find different ways to get more creative with it as we go. So just remember, subscribe to the YouTube channel, like and repost the pin tweet on the Forkball Twitter page. And wait until the 21st to see if your name's called.
Yeah.
And if you don't win the Pete Rose Ball, don't let your tempers get a little hot like you did last night in Cleveland.
Oof.
All right.
Wonder if somebody needs to wake up old Sleeping Beauty over there in the South Side of Chicago. Tim Anderson went 9-9, huh?
Yeah, Timmy Southside went night-night last night.
Ramirez is like, it's past your bedtime, old man.
Courtesy of J-Ram's two-piece combo.
2-piece in a biscuit. Yeah, that was fun. That's one of the rare times you ever see a brawl, quote unquote, actually come to blows. So I think the last one was probably Rugen Odor piecing up Jose Batista.
Yeah, gave him a personal facial reconstruction.
It did. So that was
of the scandal. And Alvin Kamara. He may have given them tips.
Well, I'm sure that's probably the next person he's gonna call. Like, hey, what do I do with this next fight I got going on here?
So
Might have to,
that occipital lobe though. Not that occipital orbit bone.
yeah, might have to send Jose Ramirez to fight off Jake Paul.
Oh, don't even get me started on Jake Paul. Oh, good grief.
Just a money racket. I don't know when people are gonna come on, man. It's a joke. All he does,
Such a joke.
old guys that have never boxed before. That's all he fights. Doesn't fight anybody real. People keep paying it though.
Yeah.
Humor in different ways, gentlemen, and life is hard. So if they want to watch that, then
Hey, you spend your $60 how you want to spend your $60, I guess.
I guess so. Different strokes for different folks, I guess.
yeah.
Yep. And let that be a life motto right there.
Maybe somebody will find something out.
So do we want to tackle the Hackett versus Peyton issue, or
Yeah, there's that.
There's that too.
maybe they can get into the ring and settle it?
They might need to. Old Sean Payton.
Caleb's that drama guy, so he will break down all of the hot goss from that conversation.
Yeah. That look, Sean pulled no punches, just like normal, true to himself. He's trying to fire the boys up, make them forget last year, get the little confidence rolling. I think that's him building up some leadership equity within his team, investing in his team. I like what he did. Hackett can say whatever he wants. I have not seen a coaching job that bad since Mark Trestman and the Bears in 2013. And it might have even been worse. You took a pretty much ready to go football team and could not have looked any more incompetent. So Hackett, may have been a little bit below the belt in terms of the coaching code, but these guys got to be held accountable. I mean, these coaches, they talk about accountability all the time with their players. So
I don't know if it was Peyton's job to hold his feet to the fire, but I do agree that it is, his way. He he craves that sort of publicity. And I mean, somebody had to tell Hackett because we know Aaron Rodgers wouldn't because he had to have his back and shoot back at Peyton, which I think no one was impressed by, and most of us thought maybe he just needed another darkness retreat for that little emotional outburst.
Well, got to have your coaches back, I suppose, when he's in the same room as you. But him and Salah kind of going after Peyton, I think, was dumb. I mean, it's not that big of a deal. If Hackett doesn't like it, then just be better. Plain and simple. You have a great opportunity to prove everybody wrong, so prove them wrong. So
I don't think.
Just go to college and kick your kickers like the other guy.
Oh,
Oh
Urban.
my god.
Yeah, just go back to college. They'll be fine.
I guess I forgot about Urban. Urban will probably give Hackett a run.
I was about to say he's gonna be in the running for that little race we.
So that's
I don't think anybody was pounding on the table asking why Aaron Rodgers wasn't coming to the aid of one of his coaches. I don't care if it's his favorite coach of all time or not. I mean, I don't think Hackett was going up to Aaron and be like, "Hey, can you go out to the media and protect me?"
yeah, big mean Sean Payton's
Tell everybody that I'm really good.
yeah.
No, I don't think it was Hackett's idea. Aaron Rodgers just can't keep his mouth shut. Loves some controversy, and clearly needs more ayahuasca or whatever, however you say it, because things got a little too emotionally tough for him because somebody dared to say a negative word against his beloved best friend and coach. They have a bond that Aaron's just a real interesting guy. So I'm not surprised that he ran to Hackett's defense, but I also don't know if it was best look leadership wise for Hackett either. I mean, we saw Aaron Rodgers on in the pregame on the sidelines looking like he was an assistant coach. I think maybe he's a little bit confused about who he is and where he is in the league right now. And although his mentoring is really important for some of the other players on the team, he's kind of doing the most. So
I mean, it's no different than Kyler Murray last year coming out there with his big old afro with headsets on.
Well, was I think that was
nice hair, Ryan.
It was nice, yeah. I'm just saying,
I think that was Kingsbury trying to give Murray a little bit of a humble pie. Okay.
He was definitely thinking it was the new release for Call of Duty.
Well,
he's trying to hop online real quick.
He's like, oh,
his own little humble pie.
Kyler needs.
Kyler got paid for doing nothing, and Kingsbury pretty much did the same. And now he's sitting out of the country, not wanting to come back.
He's out in Thailand with all the ladies doing God knows what and certain kinds of tourism, and he won't be coming back anytime soon.
Right.
Oh, I'm sure he'll be part of the Nick Saban rehab tree here before we know it next year. Seems like every bad coach goes over there for a couple of years and then miraculously picks up a head coaching job afterwards. So we'll see what that looks like. But yeah, Kingsbury was less than impressive.
Yeah, so I don't really want to hear what he has to say about Murray, and I think once he returns from his ACL injury from last year, maybe he'll kind of blossom under this new team. It seems like it's a major rebuild. We saw Colt McCoy's performance from training camp. None of us want to see that ever again. So let's hope Kyler gets back soon and can be the best that he can be. We know that he has great potential and we want to see it, and we never want to see McCoy again. So I think we'll see how much was Cliff and how much was Kyler. Did you see the tweet, Brian, about good old McCoy this week?
I have not. I haven't really been on Twitter much lately.
What?
He when he punted the football into the back of the player's head, a cornerback, I forget, a cornerback that just came over from the Baltimore Ravens, and he nailed him in the back of the head when he was trying to to throw the ball. Something we also saw in the preseason game, and so it didn't exactly raise the morale of the Cardinal fans. They got roasted pretty hard since he can't even aim for the right part of the player's body or even the right side of it. So
Oh, it's better. I guess it's better to see a social media team roasting their own players. Was it from an Arizona Cardinals page or was it from?
I mean, no, somebody else had posted the video.
Oh, okay.
Whoever had captured the photo, it it was sort of like a news thing, and then people kind of went ham and expressed how frustrated they are because Kyler said, "Can I have more help on the O line?" And they gave him like defensive players, and so it kind of gave them a chance to express like how irritated they are with like the Cardinals in general. So I think it was it might have been a bit misplaced. McCoy didn't necessarily deserve that. We saw other throws that didn't get punted in the back of players' heads than he did. But I think it's a way for them to sort of vent all of their feelings since the Cardinals is an absolute literal bird's nest right now with mess. And so I'm glad that fans had a chance to kind of sound off. And as a Seahawks fan and a Russell Wilson fan, I know how frustrating it can be when they ask repeatedly for an O line and never get one. And it doesn't bode well for the overall health of the quarterback when you're one of the most highly sacked players ever because your team says, oh, you are the O-line, the running back, a wide receiver, and basically everything. So yeah, I hear you, Kyler.
Yeah,
Hey, do you think
where just every video that comes out, good or bad, one good throw in training camp, and this guy's going to be a Hall of Famer. One bad throw, and it's like, oh, we're not winning the damn game this year. It's hot take season. I'm so glad that at least preseason's here, so we're starting to bridge that gap a bit. But goodness gracious, my brain can't take any more of this nonsense. This is the worst part of football is like the up until
we're gonna see hot takes for at least the first 3 months of the season, anyways. So
I hear you, but there's some sort of like entertainment value that comes with a player throwing a pass that ends up in the back of another player's head. As opposed to like ducking for cover, like trying to figure out that it never stops being entertaining to me. But I mean,
maybe
there's all of that controversy about Dak Prescott and getting disrespected by his teammates in training camp, and that was some bull, and we all know it. Like it's some good old, like rough housing, like
oh yeah,
healthy competition. So I think it's dumb. Travis Kelce throwing punches, not really impressive to me. I'm gonna need you to step that up, but like I'm not overly sensitive about like, oh, they didn't talk nice enough to Prescott. Like, who cares? But I am deeply entertained by the tweet of this player getting nailed in the head.
Well, maybe Colt McCoy shouldn't eat that popcorn before you try to throw the ball. That was the problem.
Never eat popcorn before practice.
Never eat popcorn before the practice. Then you'll turn into
Brucey.
Brucey, yeah.
Brucey's time to shine.
That's a lesson to take away from that.
Colt Brucey McCoy.
I love Colt.
Yeah, Colt's one of the better backups in the league, so can't really disrespect him all that much.
I appreciated a lot of the throws he did last year. I mean, he put good work out.
Yeah. It's just I don't think he was ever set up for success in this league. Being drafted to a horrible, 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 horrible organization named the Cleveland Browns.
Yeah.
That will do it for you.
Yeah.
Browns have claimed many quarterbacks.
Players' heads out of it.
Yeah. Just don't throw the ball at the back of your players' heads.
Y'all gotta see this. It goes like
under attack.
Well, I think we've had another one. Boys, we got another one in the books.
Think about it.
Another banger we made.
Pretty busy week in the week of sports. So
It was. It's seeing sometimes it's like, man, how do you cover all that?
Yeah, and that's why I'm always
However long. It's like it's hard. Probably
texting you guys because it's
we
like
off 9 items plus a raffle.
Yeah, I think that we'll end it here and we'll be back for episode 6 next week.
coming to you live from the living room of my parents' house.
Julie, what's your story?
Caleb Horn.
What if we did a thing where Wolfgang was the person who was doing the speaking for me?
Welcome to the Tailgate Update with Wolfgang Cat,
Yeah.
alongside his co-hosts Ryan Besaw and Caleb Horn, and accompanied by Julie Miller.
Yeah.
And now here's your update.
Our most interested viewer.
Goodness gracious.